So we've been on this journey, right, since the beginning of the year. Introduction to Lojong, the mind training slogans, and the practice of Tonglen. This is the Bodhisattva path, and these trainings come from Tisha and from Shantideva. And Shantideva's treatise was The Way of the Bodhisattva. So it's written in India like 12 centuries ago or something, right? Pema Chodron's book, Becoming Bodhisattvas, is a complete explication and commentary on this teaching. And this is, I really love this verse. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it not decline, but grow and flourish ever more and more. Bodhicitta, this awakened heart, right? So all of these slogans, all of this training, as we've talked about, is to cut through whatever's covering that up, whatever's blocking that, to tap into what's already there. This is, we all have this tender, compassionate place, this wounded place, and we cover it up in lots of ways. And so all of these slogans are all ways to train and work to see and come to that place, living more compassionately, and particularly, the Bodhisattva path for the benefit of all, until all beings are free. So, because I came at this from opposite ends, we're now sort of, we're coming to the end. These slogans that are in the point 6 of the 7 points, and these are the disciplines of mind training. And so why engage in formal practice at all? Right? I'm mindfully running. I'm mindfully listening to music. I'm mindfully cooking. Yes, absolutely. We don't practice just to be good meditators. We practice for life, right? Freedom to free all. So yes, as we practice, that seeps off the cushion more and more into our lives. But formal practice supports that. The training, the discipline of what am I a disciple? Am I able to sit and to be with this, right? Am I able to not run off from that? And the Lojong practice trains the mind, but all practice, all of this, mindfulness, bringing mindfulness to the fore. What is mindfulness? Being able to see and be with what is, just as it is, without judgment, criticism, or preference, in this moment, as if our lives depend upon it. Everything else is illusion, right? Whatever's happened has happened. Whatever's not happened may or may not happen. We have no way of knowing. How do we be right here, right now? So the slogans today, number 25, 26, and 27, disciplines. Number 25, don't talk about injured limbs. Number 26, don't ponder others. Number 27, work with the greatest defilements first. Well, we know already, if we've been here for a while, the Buddhist language is pretty direct, right? So this don't, well, Marshall Rosenberg would say that's violent language. Don't. When we're told don't, what happens? The defenses might come up, right? So to be aware of that, I just want to put that out there so we can see it. Don't. Yikes. And still, here it is. So don't talk about injured limbs. Right? Seems pretty straightforward. We could think of it as don't gossip. Don't talk about other people's defects to build up ourselves. And then there's the whole defect thing, which we'll get to. But, it would be interesting for a week or one day to not speak about anyone's faults, to not speak it. And that includes our own. Don't talk about injured limbs. Well, first of all, if we're talking about injured limbs, what's objectionable in someone else that we're talking about? Is it their anger, their fidgeting, their restlessness, their reactivity, their lateness, their scattered attention, their overeating, their drinking? What if it were a broken hip, or a deformity, a congenital deformity in their jaw, right? Would we talk about that in that way? Would we denigrate that? Would we criticize that? Would we judge that? So I'm guessing we would not, right? And also, would we denigrate or criticize the inner injury that manifests in less than skillful conduct? Right? So everyone who behaves badly, right? There's an inner injury there. Right? How could Sylvia Boorstein practice metta for Hitler? Doesn't condone. We're not condoning, and it's a pretty extreme example. What is the inner injury? And would we judge that? Would we criticize that? Would we denigrate that? There's the whole, in AA, in the big book, there's that sick man's prayer, right? God, when a person offends me, help me to remember this is a sick person. Help me show the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. Show me how I can help them, save me from being angry. So there's some differences here between don't talk about injured limbs and the sick man's prayer, but also some parallels, right? First of all, pity has no place in Buddhist practice. We've talked about that, right? Pity is me. I'm so spiritually enlightened, and I pity you because, oh, you poor thing, right? Nope. That's not it. But tolerance, patience, someone ill, someone suffering with COVID, right? And what might I do? I might bring them food. I might offer to bring them to the doctor. I might sit and listen to them, talk with them. Don't talk about injured limbs. What's the inner, the behavior points to inner injury. And also another difference with this prayer and this don't talk about injured limbs. Save me from being angry. Nope. Our anger has, first of all, it's a primary emotion, right? Am I going to be saved from my own emotional experience? Am I here to continue to sedate and control the full range of my emotional experience? Or can I see it and be with it and feel it? Can I know my own anger? Our anger has something for us, and we'll talk a little bit more about this with number 27, but don't talk about injured limbs. Can we see the injury? Or do we just see the fault, the manifestation? So, again, this slogan helps us to see and to remember the injury and our own, right? Number 26, don't ponder others. So it's like 25, but a little more subtle. And really it's in the big book step study process, right? In that 12-step recovery program. One of the questions that is answered is it my concern? And what anyone says or does is never any of my concern. What is my concern is my actions, my speech, to some degree, my thinking. But again, if we think we can control our thoughts, good luck with that. We can't control the kinds of thoughts that come, the number of thoughts that come, and in some ways the degree to which we're disturbed, right? The disturbance is the juice. Am I disturbed? So what others do is none of my concern, because here we are, don't ponder others. Who can figure anyone else out anyway? Most of the time, we don't even understand ourselves. And yet somehow, we think we can figure out what everybody else is doing and their intentions and their motivations, and yet we don't know our own. So all the analysis, all the figuring and pondering and analyzing, well, in some ways, yeah, it's a psychological defense, right? If we do that, we don't have to be with this. But also, what we're pondering outward actions, and not even that, because what we're pondering are our interpretations and perceptions of outward actions. So we're pondering like delusion. We have no way of knowing anyone's intentions or what's in their heart. So what's the best thing we can do? Well, one of the Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche said, the best thing we can do is leave them alone. Leave them alone. And this, of course, points to our formal practice. It's in in our own silence and quietude that we begin to see for ourselves. So it's that dual thing, leave them alone and leave them alone. And yet, we're not alone. So this morning we began with sitting together. We're all sitting in our ownness and yet here together. So we rarely know what's going on for anyone, right? And whatever we conjure up is probably missing the mark, and sometimes widely. And sometimes we can also imagine what that person is actually feeling, right? And what they're needing, right? There was a time in my own life, I've shared this, I think, many times. I walked around literally like half naked all the time. I mean, I had clothes that were barely there, right? I thought that was just fabulous. In some recovery places, they call that being an attention-seeking machine or something, right? And yet, it was not conscious for me. But if we think about that in this light, what might be that inner injury? Why might a person be engaging in this kind of behavior? Maybe what they experienced was neglect and no attention, no validation of their emotional experience. And so what happens? Seek it, seek it, seek it desperately, right? It's an inner injury. So we can begin to see that, perhaps, and with great humility. Have we not experienced some injury? And also knowing that whatever we're imagining, we might be mistaken. So, don't ponder others. Don't talk about injured limbs. And then 27, work with the greatest defilements first. Defile that which tramples down, that which oppresses, that which outrages and violates and pollutes and bruises. Work with that first. What is it? The greatest defilement, is it anger? Great. Work with that first. Can we feel our own anger? Can we get to know it? Can we care for it? The way that we would care for a small child or a puppy. Our anger, if that's our greatest defilement, is gold. It's gold. And it's this treasure that's waiting to be uncovered and tended to and known. Whatever we're judging, right, as defective or wrong is a gift waiting to be opened. Not removed, not overcome, not hidden away, but gold. Just waiting. Buried gold, buried treasure. Gabor Mate says, wherever there's tension, It's a crying out for our attention. Our attention. So we shine the light. Mindfulness is like a torch in the dark. We shine the light of mindfulness again and again and again and again. And we apply compassion and loving kindness again and again and again. And, we seek out whatever help we need. Often we can't see alone, right? We need that relational container. We need, so working with the greatest defilements first, and with great compassion. And not so that they might be removed or gone from me. Again, if your greatest defilement is lateness, I'm gonna guess that as you work with that inner injury, the lateness will dissipate. That would be my guess. I've seen it, procrastination. Any of the addictions, right? Drinking, drugs, the food, the spending, the deprivation, whatever it is, the gambling. If we heal that inner injury, the cover-ups, we can be free of. But can we see the gold? Can we see the hidden gold? Can we bring it to light? There's a book called The Presence Process by Michael Brown, and he talks about these, greatest defilements as messengers. They're messengers. And they come to reflect to us our own unhealed emotional wounds so that we can see and then begin to have the opportunity to integrate. Right? Patrol Rinpoche, when he talks about this particular slogan, he unequivocally says, whatever are the most disturbing emotions. He doesn't talk about the hindrances or anything else. With this slogan, what are the most disturbing emotions? And work with them first. And the intention is not to quote unquote feel good. Good is not a feeling. But the intention is to cultivate and strengthen our own capacity to know and to feel and to hold the full range of our own emotional experience without sedation and control. Whatever is stuffed down is going to come out some way. So whatever our greatest defilement is, can we see it and work with that first? The way that we would work with a little child or a puppy. Thich Nhat Hanh has some beautiful works on anger. Anger, right? So whatever it is, what is this? Are we imprisoned by anger? Are we imprisoned by some other volatility? Or maybe it's indifference or numbness or that extreme stoicism, right? Or maybe it's the sloganizing. All good. I'm all good. That shuts things down. Wow. So, where's the sedation and control? And can we allow some in? What's the treasure to be discovered, uncovered, and held? What's the message from this messenger? We've read this before, but The Guest House by Rumi, right? This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. The joy, the depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if there are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. From beyond what? From beyond our limited consciousness. And I love this poem in light of the Lojong slogans. Meet them at the door laughing, right? What was our recent slogan? Always maintain a joyful mind. Right, welcome. That's another way. What a great way to think about joyful mind. Simply welcoming versus no. So, well, of course, I have lots of other notes, but in this practice, we are encouraged to fully sense our own experience, in the body. So Buddhism is a somatic practice, right? How do we sense the breath? It's in the body. We feel it at the nostrils, the coolness, the warmth. We might sense it in the belly. As we breathe in, the belly rises. As we breathe out, the belly falls. Or the rib cage, or maybe we notice that slight lift at the collarbones or the shoulders. We fully sense our own experience. And when we judge injured limbs or ponder via analysis, we're engaging in the cover-up. So may we work with the greatest defilements first. Can we pay attention right now and see what wisdom comes? So this is not Lojong or Tonglen, but there's a practice. I'm pretty sure I've shared this with us, but maybe a long time ago. It's called the Sacred Pause Practice. And again, this formal practice and training, ingraining, supports our capacity to be able to practice on the spot. So in the Sacred Pause Practice, and I was taught this by Sylvia Boorstein in 2009 or 8. How it works is this. We notice something disturbing, right? Like right now. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're impatient. Maybe there's some contempt or disgust. Or maybe there's some rage. Maybe there's an ache in your knee, or this pain in your neck, or whatever it is. You notice something that disturbs your equanimity, any trigger or whatever it is. Notice it arising. And then here's what you do. Number 1, out loud if possible, and if not, inside, softly, you say, "Sweetheart, you're in pain. Relax." Or you can use your own name, or whatever other term of endearment. When I was taught this practice, "Sweetheart," I couldn't even say it. I couldn't say it for myself. And that's okay. We are where we are. Chris or Mike, you're in pain. Relax. Meaning, we're acknowledging our own experience in this moment. We're not pretending. We're not sedating. We're not sloganizing. You're in pain. And then the relax means, okay, can I soften right now and just be with it? So this action, this "Sweetheart, you're in pain, relax," the saying of it, whether out loud or inside, it creates a gap in the storyline. Because the storyline will spin and spin and spin, and we can keep adding on it. The pain in the knee or the elbow suddenly becomes the end of the world, right? So it creates that gap, and it brings us in. The second step is, and again, you say this either out loud or inside. Take a breath in and do it. Take a breath out and do it. So you are accessing your own inner teacher, right? We're not always going to be with our teacher or our therapist or have access to our guided whatever, right? This allows us access to our inner wisdom, to our inner teacher. You. Who's the guru? You are, right? I'm not. Pema's not. Chogyam Rinpoche wasn't. No, you are. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. You're offering yourself your own compassionate, loving instruction. And then you might need to repeat that 1 or 2 more times. The third step is you ask, now what needs to be done? Often the answer is nothing. Nothing needs to be done. And sometimes there is something. But this action, this creating the gap in the storyline, coming inside, being with our own pain, remembering, breathe in, breathe out, this moment, this breath, and then coming to wisdom. And often it's nothing, but not always. So that sacred pause practice, again, it's pretty simple, 3 little steps, sometimes with number 2 repeated. The suggestion is always practice in the light for when the dark comes. light and dark, always coming. So the more that we practice in the light intentionally, the more available it is to us in those moments of, and again, not always. You know, the other thing I want to say is that none of this is about the big self-improvement project, because we don't know. We just keep practicing, right? That's another thing about, like, don't ponder others, don't talk about injured limbs. You know, it's as if we're now on this spiritual mountaintop. Oh, we've been doing this now, coming to Sangha for a few years. We're even doing Tonglen. Woo! But, well, we'll be talking about another great slogan next time, but we just keep practicing. It's a daily doing. And I was thinking in terms of this about daily sadhana practice, and some of you have done or doing this. It's not about, I'm not doing my daily morning yoga practice for self-improvement. And that was not true for a long time. For a long time, it was about particularly being all ripped up, getting the six-pack or whatever it was. But it is not that. It's this daily discipline, remembering, opening. It's the same as bodhicitta and bodhisattva practice. Opening to awareness. Being more and more with what is. You know, in this week's practice, in the mantra meditation, we start with this sat. Sat. It's a mantra for inner peace, and it's a moving meditation, and this sat is truth. So in this opening movement, this is self-blessing, right? And it's also, may I be free of whatever is not truth, which is not the same as avoid, deny, get rid of. And that's what we're doing here. We're not avoiding, denying, getting rid of. But can we see? Well, if anyone doesn't have the sacred pause practice, you can let me know, and I'm happy to send it to you. And that's it for today. So I'm going to stop the recording, and then any questions or comments or shares are welcome.